Captain Deho stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the stars through the main window. The ship was big and strong, built for war but hoping for peace. It had been 3 months since they left Earth space, and the crew was getting restless. "Captain," called communications officer Taesung from his station. "I'm getting a strange signal. It's weak, but it sounds like a distress call." Deho walked over to the communication station. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. "Can you clean it up?" Taesung worked at his controls, his fingers moving fast over the buttons. Static filled the bridge, then slowly cleared. A voice came through, high-pitched and scared. "Please, anyone. They say they are gods. Destroying our cities. Millions dead. Need help." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Commander Sujin looked up from her station. "Captain, that's coming from the Kelhari system. We know they're peaceful people. They don't have weapons to fight with." Deho nodded. The Kelhari were lizard-like beings who spent their time farming and making art. They had never hurt anyone. "How far are we from their system?" 2 hours at full speed, answered Lieutenant Hyan Wu from the weapons station. "Set course. Full speed ahead." Deho sat down in his captain's chair. "And get Chief Engineer Mine up here. I want to know what we're walking into." The Indomitable turned and jumped to light speed. The stars became lines of light as they raced toward the Kelhari system. 2 hours later, they came out of light speed and saw something terrible. The third planet in the system, where the Kelhari lived, was burning. Even from space, they could see the fires on the surface. Pieces of destroyed ships floated in the darkness. "My God," whispered Sujin. 3 large ships hung in space near the planet. They were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. The ships seemed to glow with their own light, and they were huge, each one bigger than a city. Strange patterns moved across their hulls like living things. "Captain," said Hyan Wu, his voice tight. "Those ships, I've never seen anything like them. My computers can't figure out what they're made of." Taesung turned from his station, his face pale. "Sir, I'm picking up transmissions from those ships to the planet's surface. They're speaking in perfect Kelhari language." "Put it on speakers," ordered Deho. A deep voice filled the bridge. It sounded old and powerful, like thunder from the mountains. "People of this world, you have seen our power. Your cities burned because you dared to question our divine nature. We are the Vorthok, your gods and masters. Kneel before us, and some of you may live to serve." The crew of the Indomitable looked at each other with anger and disgust. Chief Engineer Mine came onto the bridge, still wiping oil from her hands. She was a small woman, but her mind was sharp as a knife. "Captain, what's the situation?" "See for yourself." Deho pointed at the burning planet. Mine looked at the screen, and her face grew hard. "Those bastards, what do we know about them?" "They call themselves the Vorthok," said Sujin. "They claim to be gods." Mine laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Gods don't need spaceships." Suddenly, one of the large ships began to move toward them. It was the biggest of the 3, covered in gold and silver patterns that seemed to move like water. As it got closer, the humans could see it was massive, at least 10 times bigger than their own ship. "Captain," said Taesung, his voice shaking a little. "They're calling us." On screen, the main window changed to show the inside of the alien ship. The walls were covered in crystals that glowed with soft light. In the center stood a figure that made the humans catch their breath. The being was tall, maybe 9 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to shine. Its eyes were silver and seemed to look right through them. It wore robes that moved without any wind, and a crown that floated above its head. The creature's voice was like music, but cold music that made people afraid. "Lesser beings," the creature said, and its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am High Patriarch Verthal of the Divine Vorthok. You have entered sacred space during our judgment of these unworthy creatures. Tell us, are you here to worship, or do you also need to learn fear?" Captain Deho stood up slowly. His crew watched him, waiting to see what he would do. The alien on the screen was beautiful and terrible, and everything about it screamed of power beyond understanding. "I am Captain Deho of the United Earth ship Indomitable," he said, his voice calm and steady. "We're here because we received a distress call. We don't worship anyone who proves their divinity by killing innocent people." The bridge went completely silent. Even the ship's engines seemed to quiet down. Verthal's silver eyes grew wide. For a long moment, the alien said nothing. Then it began to laugh. The sound was like breaking glass mixed with beautiful music. "Did this primitive creature just refuse to worship us?" Verthal asked someone off-screen. "In 3,000 years, no species has ever dared to speak to us this way. They see our power and immediately understand their place." The alien leaned forward, and the humans could see that its teeth were like white pearls. "Perhaps you don't understand what you face, little mammals. Watch, and learn why the galaxy kneels before the Vorthok." The screen changed to show one of the other Vorthok ships. As they watched, the ship simply disappeared. 1 second, it was there, solid and real. The next second, they could see right through it, like it was made of glass. The ghost ship moved through a large asteroid like it wasn't there at all. Then it became solid again on the other side. We exist beyond your physical laws, said Verthel's voice. We command matter and energy as you command your simple tools. Another demonstration began. The third Vorthok ship pointed something at a small moon near the planet. A beam of purple light shot out. Where the light touched, time itself seemed to speed up. The moon began to age rapidly, its surface changing from gray rock to red dust in seconds. We control time itself, Verthel continued. We can age your ship to dust, or make your crew live backwards until they are never born. The crew of the Indomitable watched these impossible things with wide eyes, but Captain Deho never looked away from the alien's face. Impressive, Deho said finally, but still not divine, just very advanced technology. Verthel's beautiful face twisted with anger. You dare call our divine gifts mere technology? If you were really gods, Deho replied, you wouldn't need to prove it by destroying cities full of innocent people. Real gods protect the weak. You're just bullies with fancy toys. The alien's silver eyes began to glow brighter. Very well, primitive human. If you will not worship willingly, you will learn through pain. Our champion's blade will show you the price of refusing divinity. The screen went dark. Manet whistled low. Well, Captain, I think you just made them angry. Deho sat back down in his chair. Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. And something tells me these gods are about to make a very big one. Outside the ship, the three Vorthok vessels began to move into attack formation, their hulls glowing brighter as they prepared to teach the humans their place in the divine order of things. But on the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Deho was smiling. The three Vorthok ships moved closer to the Indomitable. Their hulls glowed brighter now, like angry stars. Captain Deho could feel his crew getting nervous, but he kept his face calm. Battle stations, he ordered quietly. But don't power weapons yet, let's see what they want to show us. Lieutenant Hyenwoo's hands moved over his controls. Shields up, Captain. Weapons ready, but not active. High Patriarch Verthel appeared on the screen again. This time, his beautiful face looked angry. His silver eyes burned like cold fire. Since you refuse to believe in our divine nature, Verthel said, we will give you one final demonstration. Watch carefully, primitive beings. See powers that your simple minds cannot understand. The largest Vorthok ship began to change. Its solid hull became see-through like glass. Then it became even more transparent, until they could barely see it at all. The ghost ship moved toward a huge asteroid. Nearby, phase shift complete, said the alien's voice. We now exist between dimensions, beyond the touch of matter itself. The ship passed through the asteroid like it wasn't there. Tons of rock and metal meant nothing to the Vorthok vessel. It came out the other side and became solid again. Commander Sujin checked her instruments. Captain, our sensors show the ship actually disappeared from normal space. This isn't a trick with light or holograms. Chief Engineer Mine studied her readings carefully. The energy patterns are incredible. They're using some kind of quantum field manipulation. Very advanced, but ... double quotes. But what? Asked Deho. But every action has a cost, Mine said slowly, even for gods. The second Vorthok ship moved next. It pointed a crystal weapon at another asteroid. A beam of purple energy shot out, but this time something different happened. Where the beam touched, space itself seemed to bend and twist. The asteroid began to spin faster and faster. Time around it moved at crazy speeds. The humans watched as millions of years passed in seconds. The asteroid aged, cracked, and finally, crumbled to dust. We command time itself, Verthel announced. We can make your ship age to nothing, or trap you in a moment that lasts forever. Taesong looked scared. Captain, the energy readings from that weapon. It's using more power than our entire ship produces in a year. The third ship prepared for its demonstration. This one was different. Instead of beams or phasing, it simply raised its hand toward empty space. Suddenly, gravity went crazy in that area. Space debris, small rocks, and even light itself began to bend toward a single point. We control the forces that hold the universe together, said Verthel. Gravity, time, matter itself, all bow to our will. A small moon that was passing nearby suddenly changed course. The Vorthok ship was pulling it like a giant magnet. The moon began to break apart as it was dragged through space. The crew of the Indomitable watched in amazement and fear. These aliens had power beyond anything humans had ever dreamed of. They could phase through solid matter, control time, and move planets with their minds. But Captain Deho was not impressed. He was thinking. Very fancy, he said when the demonstrations ended. You can phase through matter, age things with time beams, and play with gravity. But you still haven't proven your gods. Verthel's face showed shock. How can you deny what you have seen? We have shown you miracles. I've seen advanced technology, Deho replied calmly. Impressive technology, but still just technology. Gods don't need machines to work miracles. The alien leader was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was dangerous. You continue to refuse the truth that stands before you. Very well, perhaps you need a more personal demonstration. Verthel leaned forward in his crystal throne. I offer you a choice, Captain Deho, of the primitive humans. Face our champion's blade in single combat. Ship against ship, your technology against our divine power. If by some impossible chance you win, we will consider that perhaps you are not entirely worthless. And if we lose, asked Deho. When you lose, Verthal corrected, your species will serve the Vorthok for all time. Every human world will kneel before us. Your people will become our slaves, and their children will worship us as their gods. The bridge went quiet. This was bigger than just one ship now. This was about the future of all humanity. Su-Jin stood up. Captain, we can't risk the entire human race on a single battle. We can't let them destroy innocent people either, Deho replied. He looked at his crew, good people who had followed him across the galaxy. What do you all think? Hyan spoke first. Sir, they have weapons we've never seen before. Ships that can phase through matter, control time, and manipulate gravity. Our weapons might not even be able to touch them. But, said Minay slowly, I've been studying their energy patterns during the demonstrations. There are, weaknesses. Everyone turned to look at the chief engineer. She was staring at her screen, her mind working fast. When they phase through matter, she explained, their shields drop completely. They have two. You can't be in two dimensions at once and still maintain normal defenses. What about the time weapons? Asked Tae-sung. Massive energy cost, Minay said. Look at these readings. That time beam used enough power to run a city for a month. They can't use it often. And the gravity control, same thing. Plus, it takes time to build up. I saw a 30-second charge period before they could affect that moon. Captain Deho listened to his engineer's analysis. So they're powerful, but not unlimited. Exactly, said Minay. They're used to fighting enemies who see their first demonstration and immediately surrender. They've never had to fight a real battle. Deho turned back to the screen where Verthal waited. The alien's silver eyes burned with impatience. I accept your challenge, Deho said clearly. But I have conditions too. Verthal laughed. You are in no position to make demands. Primitive. When we win, Deho continued, as if the alien hadn't spoken, the Vorthok will stop attacking peaceful worlds. You'll leave the Kalahari alone, and any other species that doesn't want to worship you. When you win, Verthal's laugh became louder. Your confidence amuses us. Very well. When you are destroyed, your species serves us forever. When we win, which we will, you leave this galaxy and never return. Agreed, said Dae-Ho. The alien leader stood up from his crystal throne. The champion's blade will meet you in 1 hour. Prepare your final prayers to whatever primitive gods you worship. Soon you will learn the difference between true divinity and mortal arrogance. The screen went dark. Sujin turned to face her captain. Sir, did we just bet the future of humanity on a single battle? Yes, Deho said simply. But not just humanity, every species in this galaxy that wants to be free. Minay was already moving toward the door. I need to get to engineering. If we're going to fight gods, I need to make some miracles of our own. How long do you need? Asked Deho. Give me 50 minutes. She said, and Captain, these Vorthok aren't gods. Gods don't need to prove themselves by bullying weaker species. They're just another alien race with big egos and fancy weapons. Can we beat them? Minay paused at the door and smiled. Captain, they've spent 3,000 years being worshipped. They've forgotten how to actually fight. We're about to remind them. As the engineer left, Hyan Wu pulled up tactical displays. Captain, what's our strategy? Deho sat down in his command chair and looked out at the 3 Vorthok ships. They hung in space like floating temples, beautiful and terrible. In 1 hour, everything would change. Our strategy is simple, he said quietly. We show them that humans don't kneel to anyone, not to aliens, not to gods, and definitely not to bullies who think power makes them divine. Outside, the Vorthok ships began to glow brighter as they prepared their champion's blade for battle. Soon, the galaxy would see if gods could bleed. But, on the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Deho was already planning how to make them fall. 50 minutes later, the Indomitable faced the largest Vorthok ship in empty space. The alien vessel was enormous, a floating city of crystal and metal that sparkled with its own light. Captain Deho's ship looked like a toy next to it. Captain, said Tae-Sung, his voice nervous, I'm getting signals from all over the galaxy. News of this battle is spreading fast. Millions of beings are watching. Good, said Deho. Let them see what happens when someone refuses to kneel. Chief Engineer Minay's voice came through the communication system. Captain, I've made all the changes I can. Our shields are ready for their weird weapons. But remember, we only get one chance at this. The massive Vorthok ship moved closer. Its name was painted on the side in glowing letters. Divine Retribution. Weapons ports opened along its hull like angry eyes. High Patriarch Verthal appeared on the main screen one last time. This is your final chance, Captain Deho. Kneel now, and your death will be quick. We don't kneel, Deho replied simply. Then die, like the primitive animals you are, Verthal snarled. The battle began. The Divine Retribution fired first. Purple beams of energy shot toward the Indomitable. These weren't normal weapons, they were the same time control beams the Vorthok had used on the asteroid. Evasive maneuvers, shouted Daho. Lieutenant Hyanwoo's hands flew over his controls. The Indomitable spun and dived, moving in patterns no Vorthok enemy had ever used before. The time beams missed, aging empty space instead of the human ship. Their targeting system is too slow, called out Hyan. They're used to enemies that fly in straight lines. The Vorthok ship fired again, this time with gravity weapons. Space itself began to bend and twist around the Indomitable, trying to crush it like a tin can. But Minay had been ready. Gravity stabilizers online. She shouted from engineering, I'm countering their field. The crushing force disappeared. The Indomitable flew free. On the screen, Verthal looked shocked. Impossible. How are you resisting our divine power? Science, said Daho calmly. You should try it sometime. Now it was the human ship's turn to attack. But their weapons were simple compared to the Vorthok's fancy beams. Just missiles and energy cannons, basic tools of war. Fire, ordered Day-Ho. The Indomitable's weapons hit the alien ship's shields. The barriers glowed bright blue as they absorbed the energy. Not even a scratch appeared on the Divine Retribution's hull. Verthal laughed. Our shields have protected us for 3,000 years. Your primitive weapons cannot. He stopped talking. Something was wrong. Captain, said Hyanwoo, excitement in his voice. Their shields are designed for energy weapons. But look at this. He fired again, but this time not with energy beams. Simple metal rods, shot from the Indomitable's wrist. Just chunks of tungsten metal, but moving incredibly fast. The metal rods punched right through the energy shields like they weren't there. They hit the alien ship's hull and made real holes. What? Verthal screamed. How did you penetrate our defenses? Your shields stop energy, explained Daho, but they don't stop old-fashioned chunks of metal moving really fast. Sometimes the simple way is the best way. The Divine Retribution began to phase out, trying to become a ghost ship that the human weapons couldn't touch. But Minay was ready for this too. Now, she shouted. The Indomitable fired a special weapon, one that Minay had built in the last hour. It sent out waves of electromagnetic energy that messed with quantum fields. The Vorthok ship, halfway through phasing, suddenly became solid again. It was stuck between dimensions, unable to move properly. Impossible, Verthal shouted. We are beyond your physical laws. You were, said Daho, but now you're not. The human ship moved closer, dodging the confused fire from the alien vessel. The Divine Retribution was huge and powerful, but it was built for fighting enemies who would run away or immediately surrender. It had never faced an opponent who fought back smartly. Commander Sujin coordinated the next attack. Captain, there's an asteroid field nearby. If we can lure them in there, do it, said Day-Ho. The Indomitable suddenly turned and flew toward a group of floating rocks. The massive Vorthok ship followed, its weapons firing wildly. They're too angry to think straight, observed Hyan. Perfect. In the asteroid field, the human ship's smaller size became an advantage. It could twist and turn between the rocks while the Divine Retribution had to smash through them, or go around. But the real trap was still coming. Taesung had been working on something special. Captain, I've been analyzing their communication signals. I think I found something important. What is it? They're not just controlling their weapons manually. Everything on their ship is connected through quantum fields. All their technology depends on those fields working perfectly. Minay understood immediately. If we can disrupt those fields, their whole ship becomes useless. Finished Daho. Do it. The Indomitable stopped running and turned to face the Divine Retribution. The alien ship came charging forward, all its weapons glowing with deadly energy. Fire everything, ordered Day-Ho. But the human ship didn't fire weapons. Instead, it fired a dozen small devices that spread out around the Vorthok vessel. The devices began to broadcast interference patterns, quantum static that jammed the alien ship's control systems. The effect was immediate and terrible. The Divine Retribution's phasing technology began to malfunction. Parts of the ship became solid while other parts stayed ghost-like. The hull started to tear itself apart. The time control weapons backfired, aging sections of the ship's own hull. Metal turned to rust and dust in seconds. The gravity weapons lost control, creating random gravity fields that pulled the ship in different directions at once. What's happening? Verthal screamed as his perfect ship began to fall apart around him. We are immortal. We are divine. You're addicts, said Captain Daho quietly. Addicts to your own technology. You've used it so long, you forgot how to do anything without it. The Divine Retribution was dying. Its quantum fields collapsed completely. The ship that had seemed like a floating temple now looked like what it really was, a machine built by mortals. Failing because mortals had made it. Verthal appeared on the screen one last time. His beautiful face was no longer perfect. Fear and confusion filled his silver eyes. This cannot be, he whispered. We are gods. We are eternal. You're just another species that got drunk on power, Daho said sadly, and you forgot that power without wisdom is just destruction. The Divine Retribution broke apart. Not from human weapons, but from its own failing technology. The pieces drifted away into space, no longer divine, no longer terrible, just debris. The other two Vorthok ships turned and fled. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew was quiet. They had won, but it didn't feel like celebration time. "Captain," said Sujin softly, "we did it. We actually did it." "Yes," said Daeho, "but winning was the easy part. Now we have to figure out what comes next." Taesong looked up from his station. "Sir, I'm getting signals from all over the galaxy. Species that have been slaves to the Vorthok for thousands of years. They're asking the same question." "What question?" "They want to know if the gods are really dead." Daeho looked out at the debris field that had once been a ship full of beings who thought they were divine. "Tell them the gods never existed in the first place. There are only people, some good, some bad, but all just people." He sat back in his command chair. "And tell them that no one has to kneel to anyone ever again." Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The Vorthok, the beings who had claimed to be gods for 3,000 years, had been beaten by a single human ship. That age of false gods was over. The age of freedom was about to begin. 3 days after the battle, Captain Daeho stood in the communications room of the Indomitable. The room was full of screens showing faces from across the galaxy. Aliens of every shape and size were trying to talk at once. "Please, one at a time," said Communications Officer Taesung, trying to control the chaos. A tall, bird-like creature spoke first. "Captain Daeho, I am Ambassador Kree of the Avian Worlds. For 2,000 years, we have served the Vorthok. Now we hear they are gone." "The Vorthok are not gone," Daeho replied carefully, "but they are not gods. They never were gods. They're just another species with advanced technology, a small, furry being pushed forward on another screen." "But Captain, if they are not gods, what does this mean for us? We have built our entire society around serving them." Commander Sujin stepped up beside her. "Captain, it means you're free to build your society however you want. You don't have to serve anyone." The screens erupted in excited chatter. Some aliens seemed happy, others looked scared, and many appeared confused. Chief Engineer Minnie entered the communications room, wiping grease from her hands. "Captain, I've been monitoring Vorthok ships across the galaxy. Most of them are retreating to their home systems, but some are still trying to maintain control." "What do you mean?" asked Daeho. 3 Vorthok fleets are threatening to destroy entire planets if the local populations don't continue worshipping them. Minnie explained. "They're desperate." Lieutenant Hyenwoo looked up from a tactical display. "Captain, we're getting reports that some species are fighting back. The Kelhari have already driven the Vorthok away from their system. Others are asking for help." Daeho thought for a moment. Taesung opened a galaxy-wide channel. "Let everyone hear this." The communications officer worked his controls. "Done, sir. You're broadcasting to every inhabited system we can reach." Daeho took a deep breath and began to speak. "People of the galaxy, I am Captain Daeho of the human ship Indomitable. 3 days ago, we fought the Vorthok because they were destroying innocent lives. We won that battle, but winning one fight doesn't solve everything." He paused, looking at all the alien faces on the screens. "Some of you are asking if you should worship humans now instead of the Vorthok. The answer is no. We don't want to be your gods either. No one should be anyone's god just because they have bigger weapons." A voice called out from one of the screens. "But Captain, someone must lead. Someone must make decisions for all of us." "Why?" asked Daeho simply. "Why can't each species make decisions for themselves? Why can't we work together as equals instead of masters and slaves?" The room fell quiet. For thousands of years, the galaxy had been ruled by the Vorthok. Many species had forgotten what freedom looked like. Commander Sujin spoke next. "We humans have a saying, the best leaders are those who don't want to lead. Captain Daeho didn't fight the Vorthok to become your ruler. He fought them because it was the right thing to do." An elderly alien with wrinkled blue skin appeared on one screen. "I am Elder Voss of the Wisdom Keepers. I have lived for 800 years under Vorthok rule. Tell me, Captain, what happens now? How do we organize ourselves without gods to command us?" Daeho smiled. "The same way humans do. We talk, we argue, we make mistakes, and we try to do better. We form groups where everyone has a voice. We help each other when we can, and we respect each other's choices, even if we make bad choices." Asked Elder Voss. "Especially then," said Daeho, "because learning from bad choices is how we grow. The Vorthok never let you make choices at all. They kept you as children forever." Over the next hour, more species joined the conversation. Some were ready to embrace freedom immediately. Others were afraid and wanted someone to tell them what to do. A few were angry that their comfortable slavery was ending. The Kelhari representative, a gentle lizard being named Ses, spoke with gratitude. "Captain Daeho, your actions saved our world. How can we repay you?" "By being free," Daeho replied. "By making your own choices and helping others do the same. That's payment enough." But not everyone was happy with the new situation. Taesung interrupted the discussion. "Captain, I'm getting an emergency signal. It's from the Vorthok home system. The main screen changed to show High Commander Zulthar, one of the surviving Vorthok leaders. His face was twisted with rage. "Human," he snarled, "you have destroyed the natural order of the universe. For 3,000 years, we have brought peace and stability to this galaxy. You brought slavery and fear," Deho corrected. "We brought order," Zulthar screamed. "These lesser species cannot govern themselves. They need our guidance. They need our strength." "What they needed was freedom," said Deho calmly, "and now they have it." Zulthar leaned forward, his silver eyes burning with hatred. "This chaos you have created will destroy everything. Worlds will fight wars without end. Species will kill each other without our divine wisdom to guide them." "Maybe," admitted Deho, "free people sometimes make bad choices. But slavery is always a bad choice, even if it's peaceful slavery. You will regret this." "Human," Zulthar promised, "when the galaxy burns in war, remember that you could have prevented it by kneeling to your betters." The screen went dark. Elder Voss spoke into the silence. "Captain, what if he is right? What if we are not ready for freedom?" Deho looked at the worried faces on the screens around him. "Elder Voss, let me ask you something. Were the Vorthok born knowing how to rule a galaxy?" I do not know." "They weren't," said Minay, joining the conversation. "I've been studying their technology. They learned it from other species they conquered and enslaved. The Vorthok weren't born superior. They just got lucky and found powerful weapons first. The point is," continued Deho, "everyone starts somewhere. The Vorthok learned how to use power. Now you can learn how to use freedom." "But what if we fail?" asked a young alien from another screen. "Then you try again," said Sujin. "That's what humans do. We fail, we learn, and we try again. It's not about being perfect. It's about never giving up." Hyanwu pulled up a tactical display. "Captain, I'm seeing something interesting. Several species are already forming cooperative agreements. The Kelhari are sharing farming techniques with the avian worlds. The Crystal people are offering healing technology to anyone who needs it. You see," said Deho to the assembled aliens, "you're already working together. You don't need gods to tell you how to help each other." Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change. Some changes were good, others were difficult, but all of them were chosen freely. The Galactic Cooperation Council formed, with representatives from dozens of species. Unlike the Vorthok Empire, no one species controlled the others. Decisions were made by discussion and voting, not by divine command. There were problems, of course. Some worlds did fight with their neighbors. A few species tried to become the new rulers of their local systems. But other free species helped solve these problems together. Most of the surviving Vorthok accepted the new reality. They joined the council as equal members, their advanced technology shared freely, instead of used for control. A few, like Zulthar, retreated to the edge of the galaxy, still claiming to be gods but with no one left to worship them. Captain Deho received offers to become the leader of the new galactic government. He turned them all down. "I'm a ship captain," he told Elder Voss during one of their regular talks. "I'm good at running a ship and making quick decisions in dangerous situations. But running a galaxy, that takes different skills, and it should be done by people who actually want the job." "Wise words," said Elder Voss. "Perhaps that wisdom is why so many wanted you to lead us." "Maybe," said Deho. "But the best thing about freedom is that you don't have to depend on one person's wisdom. You can use everyone's wisdom together." 6 months after the battle, the Indomitable prepared to return to human space. Their mission was complete. But the galaxy they were leaving was very different from the one they had found. As the ship prepared to jump to light speed, Tezone received one final message from the Kelhari homeworld. "Captain," he said, smiling, "Cess wants to thank us one more time. He says the Kelhari have built a monument to commemorate the day the false gods fell." "What does it say?" asked Deho. "Here begins the age when no one kneels to anyone," Tezong read. Deho nodded approvingly. "That's a good message. Simple and true." Commander Sujin looked back at the galaxy they were leaving. "Do you think they'll be all right without us, Captain?" "They'll be fine," said Deho confidently. "They don't need us to watch over them. They never did. They just needed someone to remind them that they were strong enough to stand up for themselves." The Indomitable jumped to light speed, carrying its crew home. Behind them, a galaxy of free beings continued the hard, messy, wonderful work of building a civilization based on cooperation instead of worship. The age of false gods was over. The age of freedom had begun, and it would never end. 2 years after the battle with the Vorthok, the EU's Indomitable finally approached Earth. Captain Deho stood on the bridge, watching his home planet grow larger on the main screen. It looked exactly the same. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But he felt like a different person than the man who had left. "Captain," said Communications Officer Taesoon, "Earth Control is asking for our identification codes." "Send them," replied Deho, "and tell them we have some interesting stories to share." The crew was excited to be home. They had been gone for almost 3 years, and most of them had families waiting, but they also felt strange. They had seen the galaxy change. They had helped free billions of beings from slavery. Coming back to normal life seemed almost impossible. Commander Sujin joined Daeho at the main window. Sir, do you think Earth will believe what happened out there? They'll have to, said Daeho. The whole galaxy is talking about it. Plus, we have plenty of proof. Lieutenant Hyenwoo looked up from his station. Captain, I'm reading dozens of alien ships in Earth's solar system. That's single quotes S. New Daeho raised an eyebrow. Alien ships. Here, Chief Engineer Manet's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. Captain, those aren't invasion ships. I'm reading peaceful energy signatures. Looks like we have visitors. As the Indomitable got closer to Earth, they could see the alien vessels more clearly. There were Kalhari farming ships, avian exploration vessels, crystal people healing ships, and dozens of others. They were all staying at a respectful distance from Earth, waiting. Captain, said Taesong, I'm getting a message from the lead alien ship. It's from Ses of the Kalhari. Put him on screen. The familiar lizard-like face of their old friend appeared. Ses looked happy and healthy, very different from the scared being they had first met during the Vorthok attack. Captain Daeho, Ses said with joy, we have been waiting for your return. We came to thank your people properly. Ses, it's good to see you, smiled Daeho, but you didn't need to travel all this way just to thank us. Oh, but we did, said Ses. What you and your crew did changed everything. The least we could do is come to your home and show our respect. Another voice joined the conversation. Elder Voss of the Wisdom Keepers appeared on a split screen. Captain Daeho, we have brought gifts from across the galaxy. Technologies, art, food, knowledge, all freely given by people who are now free because of you. Daeho felt uncomfortable with all the praise. Elder Voss, we didn't do this for rewards. We know, said Elder Voss gently. That is exactly why. You deserve them. The Indomitable docked at Earth's main orbital station. As soon as the airlock opened, Daeho and his crew were met by Admiral Park, the head of Earth's space fleet. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Captain Daeho, said Admiral Park, Earth has been getting reports about your activities for the past 2 years. Frankly, some of them sound impossible. Which parts, sir? Asked Daeho. The parts where you single-handedly destroyed a galaxy empire and freed billions of slaves, Admiral Park said dryly. We had help, said Commander Sujin. The aliens freed themselves. We just gave them a push. Admiral Park looked at the crew of the Indomitable. They seemed like ordinary people, tired, happy to be home, but nothing special. Yet the reports from across the galaxy all told the same story. Follow me, said the Admiral. The President wants to meet you. So do the leaders of every nation on Earth, and the alien ambassadors who have been waiting here for months. They were taken to the Earth Government Building in Geneva. The meeting room was packed with people. Human leaders sat next to alien ambassadors from dozens of species. Daeho had never seen so many important people in one place. President Kim stood up when they entered. She was a small woman with a strong voice and intelligent eyes. Captain Daeho, crew of the Indomitable, welcome home, she said. You left Earth as a patrol ship. You return as heroes to an entire galaxy. We were just doing our job. Madam President, said Daeho, your job was to patrol the outer systems. President Kim replied with a smile. Overthrowing galactic empires was not in your mission orders. The room laughed. Even some of the alien ambassadors made sounds that might have been laughter. Ses stood up from his chair. President Kim, if I may speak. Of course, Ambassador Ses. Before Captain Daeho and his crew arrived, my people had lived under rule for 1,500 years. We had forgotten what freedom felt like. We thought gods were supposed to rule over us. These humans reminded us that we were wrong. Elder Voss rose next. The Vorthok controlled 47 star systems. They ruled over billions of beings. All of that ended because 5 humans refused to kneel. Actually, said Chief Engineer Manet, the whole crew was involved. Everyone did their part. That's true, agreed Hyenwoo. We all worked together. President Kim nodded. That's very human of you, sharing credit instead of taking it all. But the galaxy seems to think you deserve recognition anyway. She gestured to a table covered with gifts from dozens of worlds. There were crystals that glowed with their own light, metals that changed color with temperature, art pieces that moved by themselves, and foods that smelled like flowers. These are just the gifts that would fit in the room, President Kim explained. There are ships full of more waiting in orbit. Taesong looked overwhelmed. This is too much. We can't accept all this. Why not? Asked a new voice. High Commander Rauthan of the Avian Worlds stepped forward. For 3,000 years, the Vorthok took tribute from us. Now we want to give tribute freely to people who deserve it. But we don't want tribute, said Daeho. We want friendship. Then you shall have both, said Rauthan, friendship and gifts. This is how free people show gratitude. Admiral Park cleared his throat. Captain, there's something else. The Galactic Cooperation Council has asked Earths to join as a founding member. They want humans to help write the laws that will govern peaceful species. Daeho looked surprised. Sir, we're not politicians, we're soldiers and engineers. Exactly, said Elder Voss, politicians often want power. You have proven you don't. That makes you perfect for writing laws that protect freedom instead of creating new masters. President Kim stepped forward. Captain, the council isn't asking you personally to become a politician. They're asking Earth to send representatives. But they specifically requested that you be involved in choosing those representatives. Why? Me, asked Daho. Because, said Sess simply, you know the difference between ruling people and serving them. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made for trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and defense pacts. Earth would share its technology with other species, and they would share theirs with Earth. But the most important agreement was simple. No species would ever again claim to be superior to others. The galaxy would be governed by cooperation, not domination. That evening, Daho stood on the balcony of his hotel room, looking up at the stars. Commander Sujin found him there. Regrets, Captain? She asked. No, said Daho, just thinking about how much has changed. 2 years ago, we were a small patrol ship in a big, scary galaxy. Now Earth is part of a galactic civilization. Are you worried about the future? Daho considered the question. A little freedom is messy. There will be problems, conflicts, mistakes. Some species might try to become the new Vorthok, but at least now everyone has a choice, said Daho. They can choose to be free, even if freedom is hard. That's better than comfortable slavery, Sujin nodded. The crew has been talking. We want to volunteer for the new exploration missions. There are parts of the galaxy that even the Vorthok never visited. Unknown species, new worlds, maybe new problems that need solving. You want to keep exploring. We've seen what happens when good people do nothing, said Sujin. We want to keep doing something. Daho smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. The Indomitable isn't ready to retire yet. Above them, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere among those stars, billions of beings were living free lives, making their own choices, building their own futures. It wasn't perfect, freedom never was. But it was real. The next morning, Captain Daho and his crew met with the alien ambassadors. One final time before the aliens returned to their home worlds. Captain, said Elder Voss, there is one more gift we want to give you. Not gold or technology, but something more valuable. What's that? A promise, said Sess. If Earth ever faces a threat too big to handle alone, the free species of the galaxy will come to help. Just as you came to help us, that's not necessary, said Daho. We didn't help you to earn favors. We know, said Rothan, but friends help friends. That's what you taught us. As the alien ships prepared to leave Earth's solar system, they formed a formation in space, a tribute to the small human ship that had changed everything. Captain Daho watched from the bridge of the Indomitable, which was being prepared for its next mission. The ship looked the same as always, but its place in history was now secure. Captain, said Tayson, we're getting a final message from the alien fleet. Put it on speakers. The voices of dozens of species spoke together in perfect harmony. Thank you, humans of Earth. Thank you for reminding us that no one has to kneel to anyone. The galaxy is free because you refuse to bow. As the alien ships jumped to light speed and